Welcome.
Welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Amanda Winder and I'm the Hub Coordinator for the Mayor's Construction Academy at London South Bank University. And my background, I have over 20 years of working in the construction sector as a human resources professional. Tonight we're joined by a number of apprentices, female apprentices that are working in the construction sector. So as it's National Apprenticeship Week this week, we are focusing on apprenticeships. I'll just give you a bit of background about apprenticeships before we really get going. So within the construction and built environment sector, there are over 88 different apprenticeships, ranging from level 2, which is equivalent to GCSEs, right up to level 7, which is a master's degree. And they range from your traditional plumbing, carpentry, trade type roles to hire controller, building services engineer, facilities manager, management supervisor, quantity surveyor, town planner, architect and construction management, just to name a few. There are also other apprenticeships in some of the sort of more support roles, such as health and safety, sustainability, marketing and HR, that are also employed by construction companies. Apprenticeships are for anyone over 16 and there's no upper age limit. And I learned today that there's actually somebody in the UK who's 76 who started an apprenticeship. So you're never too old to do an apprenticeship. And you can progress from a level 2 apprenticeship up to level 3 and beyond, right the way through. And an apprenticeship degree is the same qualification as a full-time degree. I previously had people say, oh, it's not a proper degree. It is a proper degree. But doing an apprenticeship degree has the added benefit that you have several years experience when you graduate, you've received a wage during your apprenticeship, and you don't have the huge student debt that full-time students have. So on that note, I'll hand over to Tony to introduce herself.
Thank you, Amanda, and welcome everybody. I'm so excited to be here in Apprenticeship Week, and we've got loads of participants, so that's equally exciting. So hopefully everyone here will be able to inspire you into a potential career in construction. A little bit of background about me. I am the owner of a company called Quantum Vantage, and I have spent the last 30 years specialising in supporting women into and in higher level positions, particularly in industries where there aren't so many women. And I've spent the last 30 years researching around talent and success and how do we help particularly women to achieve careers and businesses of their dreams. So excited to be here.
Thanks, Tony. Shall we introduce our panellists this evening? So
come on down.
Come on down. Turn your cameras on. So Vicky, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, hi, my name's Vicky. I'm a quantity surveyor for the Bryan Group, and I've been doing this now for 8 years. So I started out as an apprentice QS for a painting and decorating company, and I did 3 years apprenticeship there. Then moved over to the Bryan Group for their construction division, and recently was offered an apprenticeship, level 5 apprenticeship, operational and departmental manager. So my role now is managing QS.
Brilliant. For those in the audience that don't know what a quantity surveyor does, can you just give us an overview?
Yeah, so my role and responsibilities are financial or commercial, just managing sort of project budgets, pricing works, bringing projects in on budget, procurement and contracts and sort of risk to the business.
Excellent. What sort of work do you do, Vicky? What does Bryan specialise in?
We've got 3 divisions at Bryan, so response maintenance, a construction division and roofing division. So I work in the roofing division. So we predominantly do roof works across the health sector, education, commercial, residential, but we also do external works, kitchens and bathrooms, things like that as well.
Okay, thank you. Brilliant.
Great. Summer, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, hello, my name is Summer, and I'm currently doing a level 2 apprenticeship in groundworks. So I'm working for my company's called Gallagher. So groundworks is basically, we want to make sure the ground is safe before the other trades come on site. So we check for asbestos and things like that. And then, yeah, do what we need to do ready for the other trades.
What got you into construction, Summer? What excited you and sort of got you interested?
So two things. So one, I like the idea of how things are built. So for example, 12-story buildings, you know, for them to be so stable, it kind of fascinated me in a way. And then my second thing was health and safety. So I quite enjoy the health and safety side of things. So I thought construction's massive in health and safety. So yeah, kind of looking around for how I can get into construction because I didn't know anything about it. So luckily I came across this level 2 apprenticeship and yeah, hopefully work my way up from there.
Excellent. That's brilliant. Thank you. Beth, how about you?
So I'm a pre-construction management trainee for Waits. I actually came after uni, but because my degree was in history, we got an HNC in construction management, and I know there's trainees which don't have degrees and they go on to do construction management degrees while at Waits. But yeah, so I work in pre-con and in bid, so it's just like winning work for the company.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for those who might not know, what is pre-con, pre-construction?
Yeah, so we basically start from the beginning. We get tenders in or like potential projects in and opportunities, suss out whether we think the company can win it or it's an opportunity for us. Then we build a tender for the job. And then if we're successful with the tender, we work in the PCSA period before we go on site.
Okay.
What's the PCSA?
Oh God, I never quite know. It's the pre-construction service agreement. So it's basically where we build the contract, get the basis of what the project's going to be before you actually sign the contract and you start on site. So everything that goes into being on site so you can begin. So making sure you've got a crane and things like that, and working out like construction management plans.
For getting the design and all the paperwork fully in place before you start.
Yeah, sounds really interesting.
It is.
Thanks, Beth.
Yeah.
Shireen, do you want to come in?
So, as well as Vicky, I work for the Braya Group. I'm in a different division. I'm in construction. Started 7 years ago as a resident liaison officer, and Braya's kind of wanted to progress me to the site management role. So I undertook my apprenticeship level 3 site management last year, got my certificates finished. So yeah, now we're looking on how I can advance my skills again.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Shireen, what does the resident liaison officer do, and then what do you do as a site manager? Sort of what's the difference between the roles?
As a liaison officer, I was just, where we do social housing refurbs, I was the main point of contact to the residents. So I'm the go-between between the site team, the client and the residents. And as a site manager, I've kind of moved away from the resident liaison, and I kind of manage the workforce on site, health and safety, ensuring that we're working to specification, and yeah, ordering materials.
Excellent. And sorry.
As an RLO, what sort of skills did you really utilise?
For RLO,
yeah,
I originally come from a customer service background, so customer service communication is the main key, because communication is the main key to that role.
So that's a good role to sort of, for someone that's maybe thinking of construction, maybe come from a customer service background. They've got lots of transferable skills
Yeah.
to come into it?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Sorry, Tony.
Aisha? I'm going around the screen, but you keep moving.
That's fine. Hi, my name's Aisha. I work for Visionary Partnerships. Officially, I'm a management trainee. I'm currently doing my secondments, but ultimately I'm working towards becoming a chartered quantity surveyor, which is why I'm doing a level 3 surveying technician at the moment.
And what was it about construction that got you interested?
I've always found construction quite interesting as a whole. I think it's, for me, it's kind of like art, because I draw sort of that thing of nothing becoming something. So it's like I'd be walking past hoarding, although I didn't know what it was called then, and one day there's nothing, and then the next day there's suddenly this tall structure, and it's like, when and how did that occur? And it's something that's always interested me from growing up. So I think after going through like various jobs and like started studying accounting and spending some time on like the estate agent side of things, I kind of decided that being a QS was ultimately something that would suit me the most, and that's what kind of brought me here.
Yeah, exciting. So with the QS role, what's the sort of core themes within the quantity surveying roles?
So it's where, so I'm studying surveying technician now, but I'm not working as a QS at the moment. So with COVID, it's kind of messed up my plans. So I should have finished, but I'm still going through my secondment. So right now I'm actually with the design team. So the way our program works is they give us a few months in each department, so that at the end you can decide if that's actually what you want to do, because there's such a wide range of careers in construction that you don't know about. You might go in there and think this is not what it seems, and this isn't actually for me. So they do that to allow you to see like what it's about, what different departments do, and then you can decide. So that's what I'm currently going through now.
It's a interesting, lots to explore, lots of opportunity, and lots to learn, sounds like.
Literally.
Okay, perfect.
And last but not least, Nicole, do you want to introduce yourself? You're on mute.
Bad start. Sorry. So hi everyone, my name's Nicole Bryan and I currently work for Southwark Council. I've been working for Southwark Council for the last 8 years, but I originally came into Southwark Council as an administration apprentice. Luckily enough, I so informally landed in within the repairs and maintenance department, and so I did 2 years of business administration apprenticeship, level 2 and level 3. I thought, okay, there's a lot within this team in itself. So I then went on to do working with the complaints team. That was anything from working with handling members' inquiries, with councillors, so your local MPs, and customers, so usual residents that are part of housing estates, and then was given the opportunity to become a communal repairs technical officer. So the council find it quite troubling, so it was challenging to kind of fill the role. So they suggested to send I think it was about 6 of us to South Bank University, and we studied the HNC in construction. So I did that for 2 years and found it very interesting, especially because of the fact that at the end of it there was a possibility of becoming a building doctor. So I then looked further into doing the building surveying degree and was able to locate funding through the apprenticeship department. So I am now in my last year of the building surveying degree, and once I have qualified, I will also have to do an end appointed assessment with the RICS professional body. So then I will later become MRICS chartered surveyor as well.
That sounds great, Nicole. Thank you. Just for the audience, if you've got some questions, please use this opportunity for this fabulous panel to be able to give you some support and advice if you're looking to get into apprenticeships or you're not sure what opportunities might lie in construction. They're right here for you now for another half an hour or so. So please give us some questions in the Q&A. Meanwhile, we've paired some up for you that we thought you might like to ask. So what does being an apprentice involve? What happens? What are the things that you do? So if I don't know, who might want to answer that first? If not, I'll just choose one of you.
I guess being an apprentice can involve anything. It depends on where you're employed and the level of trust that the employer has on you, because I think what tends to happen as apprentice, a lot of people tend to say, okay, you can just get the tea or the coffee, but then you have other teams that would be very supportive. Okay, we're going to expose you to this, and then you can tell me if you like a lot in this area. If not, we can, like I said, as Aisha had mentioned about job placements, they tend to do that as well. So you get to experience across the board, and then you're able to determine how your apprenticeship journey will go.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Summer, what would you say to other people about what your apprenticeship has involved, and you know, like how much study do you have to do, how much is like with the work?
So it's quite a lot of practical work. I've been lucky, so I am on a groundworks apprenticeship. However, I've been getting taught the other side of construction. So that can be carpentry, striking. You know, there's actually so many components to it which you don't actually realise. Because before I got into construction, you literally just think, oh, they're just builders. You know, they all do the same thing, when actually there's so many different trades, and on site you do learn a lot of them.
Sumner, we've had a question, how do men treat you on site? So I think you might be quite apt to answer that question.
So when I first started, it was difficult, because they'll be like, oh, why are you here? You know, don't lift that, you shouldn't be lifting that. But I come from a gym background anyway, so I was like, actually, I can lift it, just let me show you. I mean, in some ways they're trying to be gentlemanly by saying, look, no, don't do that, I'll do that. But then you kind of want to prove them that, you know, you're equal to them. I haven't actually had any really bad experiences with the men on site, to be honest.
What about anyone else? Have you got any answers to that question?
Yeah, I could say a few words here if you wanted me to. So when I first started and I was doing my apprenticeship with the painting and decorating company, we had an older gentleman that had been working for the company for a long time, and I was discussing labour rates with him, and he got a little bit frustrated with me, and his comment to me was, what would you know about painting? You've never picked up a brush in your life. So the following morning I turned up on his site and he asked me what I was doing then. I said to him, you're right, I haven't picked up a brush in my life, so today you're going to teach me. And I spent the day with him, like learning and watching what they do, how long it takes them to do things. And at the end of the day he said to me, I've got so much respect for you. And I think it's just about quietly but confidently going about your day and your work, and you'll gain respect from people. But that is the only guy I've come across in the industry that's been like that. Most of them have been quite respectful so far. Yeah,
that's great. We've got quite a few questions coming in now, so we'll spread them around between the panel. So anonymous attendee is asking, what's your favourite part of your job? Beth, do you want to answer that one?
It's quite social, but just because I don't work on site, but I did for a little bit, but there's quite a nice, not vibe, but it is like quite a social job. It's quite hard work, but it is fun, and it does pay fairly well, so that's another benefit for the job.
That's a really good point, Beth. Construction average salary is 44,000, so you're not going to get that as an average salary in a lot of industries that women choose to go into, like, you know, the front line, you know, care, hospitality, travel, customer service, retail. You just don't get that as an average salary. You need to be sort of well into your management career before you get that. So that's a really good point about why this is a great industry to be in. Anyone else? How about you, Aisha?
For me, I love being on site. I think that's the best part of my job for me, is just being on site. Like, I love actually physically getting out on site, seeing how stuff are done, interacting, and I like speaking to the trades. because I feel like they help you to learn a lot. And I feel like it's been beneficial to me in terms of like my course, because I feel like a lot of the stuff I learn on site, I wouldn't necessarily learn from a textbook, and it's helped to make stuff that I learn in class a lot more easier to understand. And so for me, that's the best thing I would say. It's definitely being out on site.
Yeah,
I think by asking questions, you earn the respect of the people out on site as well, that you're actually interested and want to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see, Shireen, would you like to have this one? If you have a degree in a non-construction related topic, do you have to start at level 2 and then work up?
I think it depends on what route you want to go down, like what you're trying to study, because I didn't come from a degree background. I went straight onto a level 3. So I think it all depends on where you want to go and what you want to study.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Shireen. Amanda, you're probably good for that one.
Yeah, I'll just add on to that. So there is, you can, no, start again. London South Bank Uni are developing a Masters in Quantity Surveying apprenticeship, and that is geared to people that have what they call a non-cognate degree, so a non-construction related degree. So if you've got a degree in another subject that isn't construction related, you could go on to that construction management quantity surveying Masters apprenticeship, and they're launching that, I think, in September, so the next academic year.
Yeah. And if you're with a good employer and a good sort of training provider who might support the apprenticeships, you know, they're going to make sure they get to know you, understanding what your background is. You know, just because you haven't got a qualification doesn't mean you haven't got skills and experience that is equivalent to some of those qualifications. So you definitely would be able to go in at an appropriate level and not necessarily having to go back to a level 2. So definitely ask around and sort of have a look at what it is you think you might want to do, and then you can explore what you know, apprenticeship frameworks are available to you. Nicole, this might be a good one for you as well, is in terms of the question just jumped up, so I can't see it. So someone was asking what sort of, how did you manage that you know, work-life balance with, you've got work and then you've got the apprenticeship and then you've got the studying to do. How did you manage that? And you're continuing on to your MRIC, so that's, you know, that's probably a good one for you to answer.
Okay, there's no easy way to answer that question. If I'm very honest with you, it's down to the individual. You have to have the self-motivation and the drive to be able to see the bigger picture, because to hear 5 years of a part-time degree is daunting to begin with. So that in itself is a commitment, to commit yourself for 5 years. The only thing I can suggest is, if you want more for yourself, sometimes you have to learn to sacrifice, and then eventually hard work will pay off.
Yeah, good advice. I think,
Aisha, did you want to add to that? Because I know that you're a single mum.
Yeah, so I agree definitely with all what Cole just said. I'd also say it comes a lot down to time management. It's like, I'd say that helps me a lot personally. I kind of like list out all the stuff that I have to do, and I'll kind of work my way from it. And what I've also learned with getting my coursework done is that it's better to fit in little bits sometimes here and there where you can, as opposed to saying, oh, on this day I want to sit down for 4 hours, because sometimes it's just not practical. But say I get a spare half an hour, I might just do a bit here, do a bit, and before you know it, your assignment is essentially complete. But another thing is what Nicole said, it's sacrifice. It's a big thing, and I feel like it's telling yourself that ultimately this is for the better, like for you and your, I don't know if anyone has kids, for you and your children, so you're more willing to make those sacrifices. So it's kind of like a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. And I think as long as you continue to focus on the end goal, you will find ways to make it work and you will get it done.
Thank you, Aisha. And I think possibly another word for sacrifice might be it's an investment in yourself.
Yeah, no, of course.
Value yourself enough to invest that time and energy to have that payoff later. Vicky, you were nodding there. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, obviously when I did my degree and I first took it on, I wasn't working full time, and then managed to secure a position in the industry, so I had to fit the degree around working full time. And as the ladies have just said, it's a case of just learning to manage your own time, but I think also it's being honest with yourself and your employer as to what you need in order to complete it, and not being frightened of speaking up and saying I need some more support, or I need more time if you feel you need that. And also reaching out to other people on your course, using your colleagues, using people that you're studying with for support and to sound off each other.
That's brilliant.
Just think, Tony.
Yeah, sorry, Cherie.
No, I was going to say the same thing, because through my course, I was tearing my hair out, wanted to give up because I've got a young son as well. But what I find the apprenticeship was really good, because when you're on site, half of your coursework is based on what you're doing on site, so it works together.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So we've got a question from Florence M. She's saying that she's a project manager, but she does not have experience in construction. What would be her best point of entry in terms of apprenticeships? Who might be able to answer that? Amanda, do you want to lead on that one?
I'm just trying to. Yeah, okay. So you've got lots of transferable skills. Yeah, it depends what you want to do. So because you've got transferable skills, you could move into sort of site management if that's what you want to do, or planning might be another role. So because there's such a wide variety, it's hard to pinpoint it down. But Florence, if you want to, I put my email in the chat. If you want to email me, then I can have a more detailed conversation with you.
Has anyone else got any advice for Florence if her background's been project management but not construction yet?
Yeah, so my background, like I said, was fitness. I knew nothing about construction, to be honest. So the level 2 thing, I think, is a good step for me, just to get your foot in the door. Like there's so many opportunities from there, honestly. You can go in all sorts of directions, and that they will help you.
Yeah, brilliant. And Amanda, I'm sure you're going to spill the beans at the end of the webinar about Naturally Talented Me, a brilliant platform that we have that will enable you to just explore your natural talents and see where that fits in against 150 construction sort of job opportunities and job descriptions. So that might be something for you to have a look at, Florence. Okay, so we've got a question from Anonymous again, but it's an interesting one, because it could be one of those myths about being in construction is, do you have to be strong?
Well, define strong. Because your mind, you could be strong in the mind. I think you have to have a strong mindset to understand that especially in construction, like we know, change is around the corner. So just learn to be adaptable and be flexible. So more or less like a chameleon to kind of adapt to each situation.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. Beth, what's your views on that?
You definitely don't have to be physically strong, because I am the weakest person in the world and I don't go on site either. So also, not every single construction job is on site, or you have to go to sites, or like if you don't want to work with typical construction men, there's so many jobs that aren't even like there. So you don't have to do any dirty work at all if you don't want.
Anyone else got any thoughts on that? Because I do think it is like a myth, isn't it, that you've got to be able to, basically go in and carry a load of bricks, and there's a lot more jobs than that.
And there are a lot of roles that are based in the office, whether that's a site office or an office, or a mixture of the two. So it's not all about wearing hard hats and muddy boots, far from it. And I think we had a question from another anonymous attendee. Is it quite a social job? Does anybody want to come in and answer that one?
I would say it is quite social, and if this isn't for underage, like if you're all over 18, there it's quite a like good, not drinking culture, but most like Thursdays, Fridays, a lot of people like to go to the pub, so everyone's fairly chatty and like up for having fun. So it is, I would personally say it's a fairly social job, which is one of the reasons why I like it.
A lot.
Go on, Tony.
We're just going to have one of those nights. I was just saying that on the last two webinars that, you know, a lot of women were saying, you know, just how they feel like it's a family, it's a really nice atmosphere, you know, it's really friendly. So yeah,
there's a lot of camaraderie.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Julia is saying, hi. Not sure if this is okay to suggest, but construction area has a women returners program for those wanting to take their first steps. Only caveat is that it's funded by Norfolk Council and you have to live in Norfolk or Suffolk. So that's brilliant if you're in Norfolk or Suffolk. So definitely have a look at that. And Julia's
just add to that, Tony. I think the construction area, and I don't know the latest, but they were looking at setting one up in West London.
Okay.
So there might be one coming nearer to London for those of you in London.
Yeah, and I will also tell you about a programme at the end.
Yeah.
There are lots of programmes that specifically helping to support women. So, you know, now's a really great time if you're a woman and you want to get into construction, and if you're a woman in construction, because there are, you know, the industry is growing and there's lots of new talent pipelines, you know, opening up. So it's a really good time to start exploring. What have we missed, Amanda?
There's one here. What skills do you feel you've gained through your apprenticeship, and do you now use them in the role you're in? So I think that's a really good question. Vicky, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer. Well, the main thing, obviously, we touched on it just now, was time management, really, motivation, motivating yourself, but also communication was a big one, I would say. How to communicate with people, yeah, and try and get the best out of your course, really, and being dedicated to gaining that end result.
Thank you. Anybody else want to contribute?
Yeah,
Nicole,
sorry.
you're near in the end. Oh, go on, Aisha, sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add on from what she said. For me personally, communication as well, I feel as though it's allowed me to come out of my shell, because I find myself quite socially awkward and I would happily just not speak to people, but that has kind of brought me out of my comfort zone, and I feel it's helped towards building my confidence as well. So that's definitely something that I've benefited from working on site.
Oh, so just to further up what Aisha said, I do agree in terms of the confidence. It allows you to learn how to network, because within construction itself, how you learn is through other people's experiences, not so much the theory side, it's just through experiences with others. And for me personally, for my particular role in terms of apprenticeships, is more so of problem solving, which I can transfer into my normal everyday to-day life. So I can look at something and just try to kind of analyze what would happen if such and such risk happened, or it just allows me to look further on into the future of what possibilities could happen. So yeah, problem solving is one of the main things that I feel like has been very much transferable.
Great. We have another question here is about how did you go about finding your apprenticeship and finding, you know, because you don't often see them advertised, you know, so what did you do? Some of your, it's probably a good one to start with this, because you're sort of fresh into it, aren't you?
Yeah. So I'm fortunate enough that my sister works at a job centre. So she recommended the government website. So you could just type in keywords. So I typed in construction, and then, you know, they'll come up with, you can go for if there's some local to you or like 10 miles. So yeah, just look on there.
Yeah. And
Put
anyone
the
else?
government website in the chat.
Yeah. So every organisation that has an apprenticeship placement or wants an apprenticeship puts their advert into the government website. So that it's absolutely a great place to start, and you can just explore what's about by using that keyword feature. Or you can explore exactly what it is that you know you want to do, and hopefully you'll find some opportunities that way. Anyone else got any advice about how they got in? Nicole, how about you?
So I had a friend actually working for the council as an apprentice, and I had a few other friends that were actually undergoing an apprenticeship. And for me, at the time when I was doing it, because this was about like 8 years ago now, so it was less advertised. So I had to kind of do the research for myself, because I know I didn't want to continue my higher education at college. I had to do something. So I had to start researching. And like Summer said, I went on the National Gov website, found it from there. But again, I had friends in apprenticeships in different companies. So that's how I was able to find a vacancy.
Yeah. Shireen?
I do know as well, you know, your local borough, companies always advertise for apprenticeships on your local borough. So like near to me is Lewisham. If you go on the Lewisham website, I know Breyers advertise on there when they're looking for apprentices.
And Southwark, a number of boroughs have a local job brokerage. So Southwark has Southwark Works. There's Opportunity Lambeth in Lambeth. So there are, if you go to your local job brokerage, because often when a company gets planning permission to build a new block of flats or school, they have to commit as part of their planning to recruit a certain number of local apprentices or local labour. So those vacancies tend to also go to the job brokerages, the local job brokerages. So if you're a Southwark resident and you're looking, there's an apprenticeship in Southwark, you've got an added advantage because you're a Southwark resident over those that aren't.
Yeah. Aisha, have you got any other advice?
Honestly, I can't give that much great advice in that respect. Someone sent the link to me literally to our opening evening, like the day before it happened. I just happened to register and just attended the open evening and just went through the phases from there. So it's not I didn't actively search for it. Yeah. So I wouldn't know where to start because I haven't needed to personally.
Yeah, so sounds like a lot of you new people, and that's been another recurring theme, is like getting to know people in the industry. So I don't know whether any of the sort of attendees have got LinkedIn accounts, but we always suggest that you go in and have a look at your LinkedIn, getting set up on LinkedIn. There's a bunch of us on here that you can link in with, and you know, we've all got construction contacts, and you just start mining the information and getting your information, you know, getting yourself out there. And there are a lot of different women in construction groups, and there are a lot of groups around construction, you know, on LinkedIn and other networks like that. So that's definitely a place to start. And you might have heard of the UK careers fairs. They do a lot of local career fairs, and there'll be all sorts of companies there with their apprenticeships, but you know, I'm sure that there'll be construction companies within those as well. So there's lots of places for you to look that are not just your traditional Indeed. And
particularly this week, because it's National Apprenticeship Week, there's lots of events, lots of apprenticeship fairs. So I was on an apprenticeship virtual job fair or apprenticeship fair earlier on this afternoon with Southwark College and DWP. So yeah, just keep looking at events, type in apprenticeships and you'll get shed loads come up.
Well, there is an event tomorrow as well that might be quite helpful for them, the apprenticeships. I think it was it Southwark Works has got
Solid Works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just looking at the questions, just seeing if there's, I think so, I'm sure it's not your name,
Sorry.
Galaxy S10, but I'm sure that's your phone's name. But whoever that is saying about how much of apprenticeship is manual handling. I think we've kind of answered that when we spoke about, you know, do you need to be strong? And, you know, not all jobs are in, you know, actual manual handling or heavy lifting. So there's lots of, you know, management and administrative roles that and site roles that don't involve that. Plus, you know, with health and safety these days, there's a lot of equipment that help you with heavy lifting. So, you know, the aim is not to have too much of that going on and people injuring themselves. Has anyone got anything else they'd like to add to that? How about summering groundworks? Is there a lot of manual handling or sort of?
Yes, so sometimes you will have to lift materials from place to place, but usually there will be two of you doing it anyway. And if you find you can't lift something, just don't. There's plenty of them out there, you know, that will find a way to lift it. Yeah, and also the equipment can be quite heavy, but it's manageable. You just got to find your, you know, most comfiest position really. But yes, it's not as bad as people make out in terms of lifting and things.
Okay, I'm just trying to see what other questions that we might have missed. Charmaine's saying that she works at Guy's and St Thomas's and would like to go into architecture or construction. How would she go about looking for an apprenticeship with that, especially as with someone as an underlying health issue? Is help in place for that?
So, shall I answer that one? So there is an architectural apprenticeship. So I'd say it depends on what your underlying health issue is, but a lot of companies will support you with that. So I would say, depends on what your health condition is, choose your role wisely. So if you're working on site management, that's a lot of going out onto sites. So depending on your health condition, that may not be the best route, whereas architecture is probably more office-based. So take those things into account. So it's just about doing research on architectural companies, finding out who takes people on, looking at the government apprenticeship website, and that sort of thing. And if you want to have a one-to-one with me where I can talk more specifically, then email me and I'm happily set that up.
Jamila's asked a question about what are the starting requirements / qualifications for getting onto an apprenticeship. So Vicky, have you got any thoughts or advice on that?
Sorry, Tony, can I ask you to repeat that? I was just answering one of the chat messages.
Oh, right, good on you, Vicky.
I'm trying to multitask, it's not working.
Do it two at once now. So Jamila's asking, what are the starting requirements for a qualification or getting into an apprenticeship?
So for mine, it was to do the degree. They asked for English and maths grade A to C, I think it was. Generally it's I think they're the general skills is the English and maths. That's all that was. They didn't ask for any site-based experience. I worked in accounts at the time, so yeah, it was just English and maths.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yeah, no, I would agree with Vicky, but again, I think it depends on what level you're trying to go in at, because usually if you want to go on to a level 4, they'd ask for the level down, which would be a level 3. If you're going in an entry base, they usually just ask for 5 GCSEs, A star to C, maths and English, if not functional skills. So it's more or less pretty much the same, but it depends on the level.
Yeah. Amanda,
Sorry, can I just add to that?
yeah, sorry,
I think it also depends on what the colleges are offering per se, because like on my course, there's some people who didn't have high enough like maths and English GCSEs, who are now running functional skills alongside their apprenticeship as well. So sometimes there is that option as well. So I don't want people to feel like put off if they don't have the right GCSEs now, because some places do offer the ability to run it alongside. So that's also something to bear in mind as well, that there is always a way.
Yeah, absolutely, Aisha. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
As Nicole said, generally, you know, depending on what level you want to go in, the expectation is that you would have a level of experience or qualification at the level below. However, that said, most companies or training providers will help you get to whatever level that you need to get to and support you in that. So if it might be maths and English, I know I'm rubbish at maths. So, you know, the colleges and the training provider and the employer will probably help you to get better at that whilst you're in learning for something else. Amanda, have you got anything to add to that?
No, I think people have answered that. And sometimes if you haven't got the maths and English and you've got a real hang up about maths or English, maybe do a sort of a lower level apprenticeship, because if you've done a level 3 apprenticeship, then you can go on to a level 4 apprenticeship. So that could be an alternative way of getting to where you want to get to. There's a question here from Anonymous, and do you have any tips on finding apprenticeships? I'm looking particularly for tiling or painting and decorating, but I've not seen many advertised over the last few months. Does anybody want to come in and answer that one?
Well, so just touching on the earlier job fair that we went on, I know someone mentioned about the institution of apprenticeships.org.uk, which if you're able to type in the particular industry you want to go into, it will just show you all the apprenticeships available. So that might be useful.
Thanks, Nicole. I think also it's often good to try and get some work experience or get in. If you're looking at painting and decorating, go in as a labourer and then get to know the painting and decorating company, and they'll often, if you go start as a labourer, then they might, if they're impressed, then put you through an apprenticeship. So sometimes that's a good way in to get yourself in the door initially.
Yeah. So we are getting close to time. So one of the things that I thought we might be good for the audience and for others who watch later is for you ladies to tell us, you know, what would you say, what one thing would you say to someone considering getting into construction, and what is it that you particularly love about being in construction? So shall we go round the screen, starting with Beth? Chuck that at you.
I'd say to people that want to get into construction, like what everyone was saying, don't feel like you have to be on site doing manual handling. There is so many jobs out there that you don't have to work on site at all, but you're still involved in the building of the building. And then I think my favourite things about it are the social side, and probably like just gaining all the knowledge of everything about it. Like it's quite cool to know stuff about cranes and things like that. When, especially as a girl, people don't expect you to know these things, and you can tell them.
Excellent, like that one, Beth. Shireen, how about you?
What I love is every day's different. And there's something for everybody. The sky's the limit with construction. There's different progression routes. You can climb the ladder easily if you work hard. And yeah, there's something for everyone, no matter your skills, strengths, background, you'll find a role.
Lovely, thank you for that, Shireen. Nicole?
I would just say don't feel intimidated. Like Cherie just said, the world's your oyster. So kind of just get in there, get stuck in, and just show them that we're just equally as strong as they are. That's it.
Yay.
Yeah, I love that. Excellent. And what is it that you love about construction, Nicole?
Literally, everything's different. I can wake up tomorrow, there's a roof leak. The next day, there's a leak from that property into that property or 5 properties. Everything is always different. So that makes it allows me to continuously develop myself, and I like to do that. So yes.
Yeah, thank you for that. Summer.
Yeah, so I would say do a little bit of research, see what side of construction you want to kind of get into, and then look for an apprenticeship. If you have the grades, go for a higher one. That'd be great. Thing I love about construction is like every day is different. Like you can go in one day and find asbestos. You can go one day, lifting stuff. You can go one day, just so many different things you could be doing, and yeah.
And what is it that you love, Summer?
Oh, the people there, different people, just all the different things you can do. I think everyone will enjoy, mixing up a little bit each day, doing different stuff.
Brilliant. So there's a good theme here.
Yeah.
Exciting industry to be in, and lots of different
variety.
Happening. Variety. Aisha, how about you?
Personally, what I would say is just go for it. I feel like the fact that you're here means that you have some sort of interest in it. I think the best thing to do is just find what works for you and then go from there, because I feel like it'd be probably one of the most secure decisions you make for your future. Well, that's from my personal opinion. What I love from about construction is construction as a whole. Like everybody else, no 2 days are the same. There's always something to learn. You'll always be fascinated, always in awe. And I just feel like it's one of those things that allows you continuous progress. I think it's pretty much the same as everybody else. I think there's a general conception about it. So
yeah, excellent.
In the pudding.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Aisha. Vicky.
For me, just the same as everybody else has said, really, no 2 days are the same, no 2 projects are the same, but it's a fast-paced and challenging industry. It's diverse. The amount of people that you meet from all walks of life, it's just fascinating. And once you're in the industry as well, I didn't realise quite how many roles there were available. And I think once you're in and you start to experience things, you might think, actually, I might branch out and do something a bit different or try a different role. And there's no end to that. So you can progress or you can change routes. There's just so much available to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, all of you. I'll hand back to Amanda.
Hi, so we mentioned earlier on about one of our partners, Naturally Talented Me, and they are an online website where you can develop your online profile. So they ask you questions about your hobbies, and it's really clever and comes up with what I'm just sharing my screen. It comes up with what your natural talents are. So there might be talents that you don't even realise you've got, and then it matches you to roles. So you might get matched to a role that you've never even thought of or you haven't heard of. So your natural talents might be focus, attention to detail, creative, communicator, team player, and then you might get matched to roles. So if you go to the website here, naturallytalentedme.com/industry/construction, and then we have got a number of construction roles in there, not all 150 I'm afraid as yet, but you might find you get matched to those roles. You might get matched to other roles outside of construction because it isn't just for construction. But if you're at a bit of a crossroads in your career or in your life thinking, what do I want to do next? Then I would encourage you to go on to Naturally Talented Me, register, do your profile and see what you get matched to. And we will be sending out after the webinar, you will get a copy of the webinar, and we'll have this link in there so that if you don't catch it today, you can catch it and you can still do it. So I would encourage you to go and have a look, give it a go, and see what talents you get surprised by. Tony, did you want to talk about your programme?
Yes, so we have a programme running at the moment that is aimed at helping women who might be at a crossroads in their career or not sure if they're, want to explore the construction industry a bit more, or you want to get in on site and you need your CSCS card and your health and safety qualifications. We have a programme running in London that is actually running online at the minute, but that's free of charge, and it's a 5-day programme. And for those who want to take up the opportunity of a virtual work experience, there's a 2-week paid virtual work experience, which will give you, a really good idea of some of the types of work you might get involved with some real life projects. And we're running that in partnership with the GLA and Brea Construction. So you get to do some real life projects from Brea. So it's very exciting. We have 38 places left to before now and the end of March. So get in quick because they're going.
And the Naturally Talented Me doesn't cost you anything either. Just add that. So if you've been, hopefully you've found it interesting, exciting and inspired to want to develop a career in construction, then feel free to contact Tony or I. I'm happy to do one-to-ones with people, and we will be sending out our contact details with the video later. We hand over to Dean.